185 miles into the Guadalupe River, and then it finally empties into the Gulf of Mexico, a little over 250 miles from here. So this part of the river that we're on right now is part of the natural flow of the river. It has a natural riverbed bottom. The depth of the natural flow of the river is anywhere between 1 to 5 feet deep. It's shallow towards the sides of the river, then it gets a little deeper in the middle, like most Texas rivers. Where we're at on the river is this, back behind us is Floodgate 3, back there in the distance there. That's Floodgate 3. So it comes in from the north, comes in Floodgate 3, does a circle, does like a horseshoe shape into the downtown area, comes out Floodgate 4, and then continues on south. Right off the very top of the horseshoe portion of the river is a man-made extension. I'm going to point that out to you as soon as we get to it. As a matter of fact, we're going to go into the man-made and go back in there. But if you keep the shape of the river in mind, it'll help you navigate the downtown area while you're walking around down here on the Riverwalk. The footbridge that we just went underneath back there behind us is it's kind of famous. It was the Selena footbridge. We call it the Selena footbridge. It's the footbridge that Selena was on in the movie. Jennifer Lopez was on in the movie Selena. The hotel over here on the left, one of the premier hotels here in San Antonio for years and years, is the La Mansión. This used to be St. Mary's Law School. A couple of alumni bought this building back in 1966. They added the top 4 floors. They got it ready just in time for the World's Fair that was held here. You're going to hear me talk a lot about the World's Fair here that happened in 1968. A lot of stuff and a lot of the renovations on the river happened because of that World's Fair. But before we get to all that, I'm going to show you guys an optical illusion. As soon as we come out from underneath this bridge here, everyone look up all the way to my left at the very top of this big giant building, which is the Nix Hospital. It was built in 1930. It's an optical illusion. It's going to look like a big flat wall as soon as we come out from underneath the bridge. Ilusión Digital. All the way up at the very top. Look up now. All the way up. See it? So this is the only hospital, folks. The only hospital in the whole wide world that has a bubblegum shrimp restaurant in the basement. Bubblegum. That's all I gotta say about that.
Look, the old-fashioned steaks.
This part of the river is called South Bank. This is where we have most of the nightlife here in this part of the river. It's pretty wild and crazy here on the weekends. For some reason, this is where all the people seem to fall in the San Antonio River, in this part of the river. The hotel directly in front of us is the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Not particularly historic. It was built in 1981. The Hyatt is only 16 stories tall, and it's only 16 stories tall because they weren't allowed to build it any taller. If they had, it would cast a shadow on the Alamo, which is directly behind it. So if you're in this part of the river, you want to go to the Alamo, if you're parked over there, all you got to do is go through either one of the double doors there at the base of the hotel, follow the water feature all the way through and underneath the hotel up to street level, and you'll be directly across from the Alamo. If you look above each door, it says the shops of the Paseo de Alamo. A lot of people worry about those ducks out there in the river getting run over by the boats. Please don't worry about that. It's actually quite impossible to run those ducks over with these boats. Believe me, I've tried. They're like little floating targets. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. This part of the river is called River Square. This is where we have most of the restaurants here in this part of the river. If you wanted to do a dinner cruise, any of these restaurants would be able to accommodate you. The only restaurant that has a community boat where you can just reserve a place at the table is the Boudreaux's restaurant over here on the right. See these rust-colored umbrellas? That's the Boudreaux's restaurant.
One of the ducks got mad.
Hey, you almost ran me over. You jerk.
The restaurant over here on the right, the Casa Rio restaurant, is the oldest restaurant on the river. The Casa Rio restaurant opened its doors here on the Riverwalk in 1946. Back then, while people would wait in line for their table, they'd get boat rides up and down the river. The boats used to look like gondolas, like they have in Venice. So we're getting ready to leave the natural flow of the river. We're gonna hang a left here, and we're gonna go onto this man-made extension. Where we're at on the river is like the top part of the horseshoe portion of the river as it comes into downtown. This extension that we're on right now was built in 1968, and it was built specifically for the World's Fair. It was built, it's all concrete sides, concrete bottom. The depth of the man-made extension is anywhere between 3 to 4 feet deep, and it's a uniform depth, depending on the water level. The Christmas lights that you see up in the trees, the city finished putting up about 3 weeks ago. The city puts the Christmas lights up every year. They take them down every year.
Oh.
They're not like that one neighbor down the street.
After dark one day.
You know who you are. We turn the lights on the day after Thanksgiving. We actually have a river parade to celebrate the lighting of the river. It's beautiful. If you get a chance to come down for that, I highly recommend it. This year we had like 35 boats, floats, all decked out in various forms of Christmas regalia. It was really ornate. It was beautiful. It really was nice. And as you can tell, the weather in San Antonio this time of year is very nice. If you look up and to the right here, you'll see the centerpiece for the 1968 World's Fair, the Tower of the Americas. It's 750 feet tall. It has a revolving restaurant on the inside. The restaurant makes a complete revolution about once every 45 minutes. So if you're having dinner or if you're having lunch, it gives you a chance to see the whole city. You don't have to go to the restaurant if you want to go up to the tower. There's an observation deck as well. The elevators for the tower are on the outside of the building, and the outside of the elevators are made of glass. So it's a lot of fun to go up to the top. You get a great view of the city. You can watch the ground fall away. And the best part about it is those elevators hardly ever get stuck anymore. Just kidding. Just saying if anybody's listening. Thank you, ma'am. This extension we call the Convention Center extension. We're going to go down, it's going to dead end. We're going to go do a little turnaround underneath the Convention Center and come back out. But this extension is the original extension as it came back in 1968 for that World's Fair, going back over towards the Tower of the Americas. So back then, back in 1968, the main attraction here in San Antonio wasn't the Riverwalk, it was the fairgrounds over by the Tower of the Americas, which is back over here. They had canals in and around the tower back then. That they've since covered up. They even had a man-made lake back there that had power boats that pulled skiers. They had a monorail that went around the perimeter of the fairgrounds. They even had a sky lift that went the length of the fairgrounds as well. That's all been dismantled and covered up, except for the tower itself. They do have some relics from that time on the other side, like this. So this directly in front of us, that big glass bridge connects both sides of the Convention Center. That is that whole complex back there is the Convention Center. This is the Grand Hyatt Hotel over here on the left. And those relics that I'm talking about, like they have a car from the sky lift. They have part of the that monorail that went around back there. The only building that's back here that's left from that World's Fair is this one over here on the left, the Lila Cockrell Theater. I'll talk a little bit more about that after we come back out from underneath the Convention Center. The Convention Center is called the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. Mr. Henry B. was the very first American of Mexican descent to be elected to the House of Representatives. He was elected in 1961. He served until 1999 when his son took over. He's a very beloved figure here in San Antonio. He was instrumental in getting the World's Fair to San Antonio back in 1968. So the previous boat company used to have a little bit smaller boats, and they used to go around that little island that's up ahead of us. These new boats are a little bigger, so they have us turn around here in front. I've actually been back there behind that little island. If you look at the front of that island there, the back of the island looks exactly the same. I don't want you to feel cheated.
Are these cedar trees dying, or is that just normal fall?
That's normal fall. They're called bald cypress trees. Cypress, yeah. And for the record, you are the very first person of the season to ask me that question, which is a question that gets asked throughout this winter season because they do look like they're dead. Everybody always asks that. But I've been mentioning, it's funny, as I've been mentioning on my tour, I'd say, you know, in the wintertime, everybody asks me, are these trees dying or
You're the first though.
Yep, he's the very first. Over here on the right is the Lila Cockrell Theater. Miss Lila Cockrell was San Antonio's very first female mayor. She was elected in 1976. If you look above the Lila Cockrell Theater, you see that mural? That mural was a gift to San Antonio from Mexico in 1968 for the World's Fair. It's made of all naturally colored stones from throughout Mexico. It's 22 feet high, it's 130 feet long. It's called the Confluence of Civilization. The name of the artist is Juan O'Gorman.
Is that more than 22 feet? Oh, that one?
Some sort of stones.
Okay.
I have one viewer. One viewer.
Honestly, I think you guys picked the perfect time to come down here on the river and take this boat ride. Tonight it's going to be chaos down here. There'll be a bunch of people down here as soon as the lights go on.
We can't stay on?
Yeah, they'll come on at 6.
No, can we stay on?
Sure. I think it's going to be a little bit boring for you.
No, the lights.
It'd be boring for you if you stay on the boat.
Oh, he's
Then
not
he's parking
going. Okay, he's parking it. I think a little slow.
So this extension that we're going into right now is the very last extension that was built here on the Riverwalk. This extension, the Marriott River Center Hotel, which is the big one over here on the right, and the mall area that we're getting ready to go into, were all built at the same time. They started in 1985. They finished all this up in 1988.
It's kind of like an art deco. Based on what I learned.
This is another one of our ticket locations.
What are they?
This is the River Center Mall that we're going into right
It's a
now.
lemon tree. It's like lemon, right? Okay, as we go by, reach up and grab me a lemon.
They take forever to ripe them.
Do they?
When you pick them off the tree, yeah. You're better off just to let them. That's why people don't. You pick one and you wait for it to ripen.
Yeah.
Did you see mine?
Lemon's Charlie's Steakhouse in there.
What?
Charlie's Steakhouse in Akron.
Ooh,
I'm gonna invite that one down.
look at that nice tree.
Anybody have any questions about the mall? Probably pretty much like y'all's mall, wherever you're from. We got a food court on the first floor. We got an IMAX on the second floor and a bunch of shopping everywhere in between. We just got a river running through ours. Oh, they got Santa Claus up here on the little island taking pictures with the kids. It's Texas Santa Claus because he got his cowboy hat on, his cowboy boots.
So we'll be ready to take care of patients for exams, system treatments, and more. And we can do it in just 9 months. You can get there from here. Take the first step in your new career today at pmi.edu.
That's a cool location for a saddle.
Yeah, but where's he land his reindeer?
Like the,
Did y'all notice the fruit trees on the river when we came in? There's a loquat tree here on the corner. There's an orange tree right here to the right. The oranges are kind of hard to see because they're still pretty green, but if you look carefully, you can see them up there.
like grapefruit.
On the other side of the footbridge over on the right-hand side is a lemon tree. It's a Myers lemon tree. Now, that thing is packed full of lemons. You won't have any problems seeing those.
I keep trying to get a lemon tree to grow, but
Some of them look like they're getting pretty ripe. So as we come out from underneath this footbridge, if you look over on the right, on the side of the river, you'll see an 8.5-foot bronze statue. It's a statue of St. Anthony, San Antonio de Padua. This is who San Antonio, the San Antonio River, are named after. That statue was a gift to San Antonio from Portugal in 1968 for the World's Fair. As it turns out, St. Anthony is from Portugal. He's from Lisbon, Portugal. So the whole reason San Antonio is named after St. Anthony is because of the very first mass that was ever held here in San Antonio. It was held on June 13th, 1691. It was held by a Spanish missionary named Father Damien Massenet. He wrote in his diary that because it was St. Anthony's feast day on the day of the Mass, he decided to name the river after him. That's how San Antonio got its name. This last year, 2018, was San Antonio's tricentennial. San Antonio turned 300 years old this last year. We're actually one of the oldest cities in the United States. We're the 8th largest city in the United States and the top 20 oldest. We are the 2nd oldest city in Texas. Do we have any Texans? We don't have any Texans on board, do you? The oldest city in Texas is El Paso. El Paso. Chucotown. This is known by locals. The church that y'all are taking pictures of up there is the St. Joseph's German Catholic Church over here on the right. Built in 1868. We had a large European immigration in the late 1800s here in South Texas. The Germans that came here to San Antonio wanted to have a church where they could hold their services exclusively in German, so they built their own church. The St. Joseph's is completely surrounded on 3 sides by the mall. At one time they wanted to tear it down, but the Conservation Society here in San Antonio is really strict. They just built around it. Over here on the right is the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. If you were to move here to San Antonio, these are the folks you'd probably want to come talk to. If any of you folks from up north are dazzled and mesmerized by San Antonio and you're thinking about moving down here, I highly recommend that you come back to San Antonio the month of July and August before you make any rash decisions. Yeah, because it's a whole nother kind of hot. Yeah, I spent 2 years in Iraq, and I'd much rather be there than here in the summertime. Yeah, at least there at night it cools down at night, right? In the dry heat, you stay hydrated, you're good. Here, it's triple-digit heat plus humidity, and I'm not talking about a little bit of humidity. I'm talking about a lot of humidity. Yeah, it just hangs on you. The good thing is in the middle of December we got 70, 80 degree weather. That's the bright side.
what? better than 30.
So we're getting ready to leave the man-made. We're going to go back onto the natural flow of the river. Again, where we're at on the river is like the top part of that horseshoe portion of the river as it comes into downtown. So y'all are walking around down here. The restaurants are back that way. The outdoor theater is going to be back over the other direction. There's not a whole lot back in this direction, unless you're going to one of the hotels, or you're going to the outdoor theater specifically. Oh, they do have shopping over in La Vita, but that closes at. I mean, they shut down. The shop shut down 5 6 o'clock, something like that. The hotel over here on the left, the Hilton, it's got a pretty interesting story. The Hilton was built, like a lot of the stuff down here, in 1968 for the World's Fair, specifically for the World's Fair. It was built in a Guinness World Book of Record, 202 working days. That's less than 9 months. So it took them less than 9 months from start to finish to build this hotel. And the way they did that, so if you look up at those rooms, you see how they're all square? They look like boxes. Well, they're prefabricated modular rooms. They were actually built off-site south of San Antonio. What they did was they built the first 4 floors here on-site. They brought the rooms in on these big giant flatbed trucks, and then they craned each room into place. 202 work days. Everything in San Antonio was behind schedule and over budget for that World's Fair. This hotel was no exception. They had to have these rooms completely ready to go when they put them into place. Everything was inside the rooms ready to go. The beds, the nightstands, the dressers, drapes, towels on a towel rack, soap in the soap dish. They were completely ready to go. The only thing they didn't have in the rooms were the television sets. Those were the very last things to go in. As we come around this little bend, we're going to go into an outdoor theater. It's called the Edward P. Arneson River Theater. It's named after the chief civil engineer that did the initial renovations on the San Antonio River between 1937 and 1949. This outdoor theater was built in 1941. That's when the San Antonio River went from natural riverbank to sidewalk. This is the original design of this outdoor theater. The grass-padded seats are over on the left. The stage, separated by the rivers, over on the right-hand side. We have concerts here. We have plays. Sometimes people get married here in the Arneson. We had a quinceañera here a few weeks ago. They even filmed a movie here one time. Anybody see the movie Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock? The swimsuit competition scene in the movie Miss Congeniality was filmed right here on this very stage. Michael Caine, William Shatner were in that movie. Yeah. On the other side of these man-made waterfalls is the Briscoe Western Arts Museum. The Briscoe opened in 2010, and they actually commissioned this piece of art that's over here on the right. It features the longhorn cattle used to run wild and free here in Texas, left over by the Spaniards in the 1700s. And the very first cowboys, the vaqueros.
People's writing messages to us.
The iron ornamental bridge we're getting ready to go underneath right now is the Preston Street Bridge. Preston Street Bridge was built in the late 1800s. It's one of 12 left in the state of Texas. Presa in Spanish means dam. At one time there was a dam here at this location. It used to provide water to the fields of the missions that were south of here. And they went through a little aqueduct-like waterways called acequias. Acequias. As we come around this little bend, if you look over on the right, you'll see a little iron sculpture sitting on the little island. It's called Father Damien Massenet's table. It was put there to commemorate that first mass. It sits on this little island called Marriage Island. A lot of couples get married on this little island, on Marriage Island. It's supposed to be good luck to get married here. There was a wedding here just last night. You can tell by the flower petals all over the place there. There was a wedding here last night. And then last weekend we had 2 weddings and a proposal. There, yeah, it gets a lot of action there, that little piece of land there.
I'll never find it again.
We've got a nice little straightaway here. You guys want to see how fast the boat goes? Are you ready? All right, hang on, because this is it. We're doing it. Yeah, yeah. This is as fast as this boat goes right here. All these boats run on a little 10 horsepower electric engine. We're lucky we're going this fast. The pretty hotel y'all are looking at over there on the right is the Westin Hotel. They just finished construction on the rooms facing the river. They just added all those balconies onto those rooms. 6 months ago, those weren't there. The Westin Hotel actually has, well, it actually has no historical significance whatsoever. None. But it sure is pretty. The big tall building over on the left with the green top is the Tower Life building. Now, the Tower Life building was built in 1929. It was built in a neo-Gothic type of architecture. If you look way up at the very top of the building, see those things sticking out? Those are gargoyles, way up at the very top. They look very similar to the ones that were on that church that burned in Paris, the Notre Dame Cathedral. There's also some ugly faces on the top of the first floor. Those ugly faces are called grotesques. Grotesque. They were put there to ward off bad luck and evil spirits. The boats over here on our right, these are the boats that they use when they, for the parade. They fix them all up and put all kinds of float stuff on them. They're going to be used tonight for carolers.
Got a picture.
We're gonna have people out.
Later tonight.
Well, then we're going to be listening to caroling music. The St. Mary's Street Bridge that we're getting ready to go underneath is known by a lot of the boat drivers as the Bridget Drop Zone. It's probably best if you don't look up underneath this bridge, and if you do, don't open your mouth. You may notice all the pipes are all white. Yes, they weren't painted white. The big red building directly in front of us is the Bexar County Courthouse, built in 1897, one of the oldest continuously running courthouses in the state of Texas. It's made out of granite and red sandstone. They made it out of sandstone because sandstone retains a lot of moisture and helped keep the courthouse cool in the summertime since they didn't have AC back then. So we're getting ready to go out of Floodgate 4, and if you notice, Floodgate 4 comes up out of the water and closes up. You can tell by the silver markings on either side of the river. They close this up when they want to clean the downtown area and when it used to flood. So remember I told you the river comes in from the north, makes a horseshoe shape, and then goes south? This is the point at which the natural flow of the river goes south. This is Floodgate 4 they were going out of. We're going to hang a right. We're going to go into this man-made flood channel. This flood channel was built in 1929. In 1921, we had a real bad flood here in San Antonio. The floodwaters got about 8 or 9 feet above street level. It was a tremendous loss of property and life. So they built this flood channel, these floodgates. A lot of people like to check out these love locks that are on the fence up here to the left. I guess couples, they come down here, they put a lock on the fence, throw the key in the water like they used to do in France to express their everlasting love. What I don't understand though is if you look at a lot of those locks up there, they're combination locks. What's up with that? I call it a San Antonio prenup.
That big natural gas pipeline. Oh, look, another hotel.
So if you look carefully back here to the left here in Main Plaza, you'll see the San Fernando Cathedral in the distance. It has 2 towers in the back. See it back there? That is one of the oldest continuously running Catholic churches in the United States, the San Fernando, built in the late 1700s by the Spanish Canary Islanders. Beautiful, beautiful church. Built in a similar style to that other church that burned, but not nearly as extravagant, obviously. Tonight, they're going to have a show there at San Fernando. It's really cool. It's called The Saga. And what it is a visual history of San Antonio that they project onto the church itself. The show times are at 9, 9:30, and at 10 o'clock. It's not narrated, it's just music, but it's really cool. It's beautiful. It's about 25 minutes long. If you get a chance to go, I highly recommend it. That's part. It's free. Just come down Commerce Street, just go into Main Plaza and check it out.
My language now.
The tallest, oldest tree on the river is directly in front of us. This 90-foot tall bald cypress tree is estimated to be well over 300 years old. It's older than San Antonio itself. So we're going to go back onto the natural flow of the river. This is where the river comes into the downtown area to make that horseshoe shape of the river. So we're going to go back onto the natural flow, and we're going to go through floodgate number 3. Now, unlike floodgate 4 that came up out of the water and closed up, floodgate number 3, as you can tell, falls from the top down, kind of like a, I don't know, kind of like a big giant guillotine. They used to test this every afternoon between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. They just recently moved it back an hour. So it's been my experience that this is an excellent time to talk about tips and gratuities. I'm kidding. So folks, we're here at the end of the tour. I do appreciate having you guys. Hope you enjoyed our little trip around the river. Just a few things before we dock. If you could, please wait till I get the boat completely tied down before you start to exit. Also, check around where you're sitting. Make sure you have everything that you came on the boat with you. Any phones, cameras, purses, wallets, things of that nature. I really hate to try to get that back to you on eBay. Also, one last thing. If you look back here at the rear of the boat, Go Real does allow us to let you know that we do accept tips and gratuities. They're very much appreciated. Thank you very much, folks. You guys have a great evening. Enjoy San Antonio. Go check out that show there at the church. It's really cool. It's called The Saga.